testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
All right, you're going to walk around the court reporter. Have a seat to my left.
Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Ray Hermosillo. I'm employed with the Rexburg Police Department.
Where is Rexburg Police Department?
Rexburg is a little town in southeast Idaho.
How long have you worked for the Rexburg Police Department?
I've been with Rexburg since 2001.
And can you tell us your different jobs or duties over the years at that department?
Sure. I started in patrol in 2001 as a normal patrolman. I worked patrol for about 18 years before I was promoted to detective in 2019. During that 18 years, I was able to obtain numerous certificates. I currently hold a supervisor certificate and an advanced certificate through Post Academy. In 2019, I was promoted to detective. I currently am a lieutenant over the detective division.
So in 2019, you were working as a detective in Rexburg. How big is that city?
Rexburg is roughly probably 40,000.
Okay. How many detectives are there?
Currently, we have 7 detectives for the 40,000 people.
And back in 2019?
About the same, 7.
Okay. And did you cover sort of any investigations in every investigation as a detective in Rexburg?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to bring you to November 1st of 2019. Did you speak with a detective, Nolan McDermott, from the Gilbert Police Department here in Arizona?
I did.
Were you asked to aid the Gilbert Police Department by locating and impounding a 2018 Jeep Wrangler with a Texas license plate LWD 0997?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you provided with an address where that Jeep might be located?
I was.
Are you familiar with 565 Pioneer Road?
Yes, Rock Creek townhomes.
Okay. So those are townhomes. Are there multiple units there?
Correct.
Were you provided with a unit 175 that would potentially be relevant to this case?
Yes, I was told that 175 was where I needed to focus. 175, 174.
When you were given this information, were you provided with a probable cause statement from Detective McDermott?
I was on November 1st of 2019.
And knowing that you were going to be looking for this Jeep to seize it, did you obtain a search warrant?
Yes, I did.
So on November 1st, did you go out to 565 Pioneer Road, Unit 175?
Yes, we did.
Did you go with someone else?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Did you go with someone else or were you by yourself?
No, I went with other detectives.
And what did you do when you got out there?
We were asked by Gilbert Police to perform intermittent surveillance to see if we can locate the 2018 Jeep Wrangler. So that's exactly what we did. We went out, performed surveillance, and we were unable to locate the Jeep on November 1st.
Now, had you been provided with the name Lori Vallow?
Yes.
Had you been provided with the name Alexander Cox?
Yes, we have.
Were you looking for the Jeep that belonged to Lori Vallow?
Correct.
Okay. When you were doing surveillance of Unit 175, did you take any photos of the individuals who you saw going into and out of that residence?
We did. We took a couple photos of some individuals coming out of the garage and going into the garage area of 175.
Did you see that person go into any vehicles?
We did.
Was that a male or female you saw?
That was a female, Lori Vallow.
Do you see that person that you saw going in and out of Unit 175 and getting in and out of the vehicle that you saw in Rexburg, Idaho on November 1st in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Can you point her out and tell us what she's wearing?
She is at the defendant's table in a blue coat with a light blue shirt and red glasses.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant.
Good show.
Did you, in fact, follow Ms. Vallow in a vehicle to another location and back to the Unit 175?
We did. We followed her to Walgreens in Rexburg off of Main Street, and then followed her back to her residence at 175.
What kind of vehicle was she driving at that time?
A blue Nissan Rogue.
Okay. I've shown defendant exhibits 126 and 127. If I may have my paralegal approach. And you said you took photos of those. I'm showing you 126 and 127. Can you let me know if you recognize those? Do you recognize those as photos taken from surveillance on November 1st of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
State will move to admit 126 and 127.
Any objection?
Just relevance, Your Honor.
They're admitted. 126, 127.
Now, you told us that, if I can have the Elmo, that the defendant, Ms. Vallow, was driving a blue Nissan Rogue. Did that have an Arizona license plate of CRT 2994?
Yes, ma'am.
We're showing here exhibit 126. I'm going to pull out some. Although we can't really see well. When there's no glare, is Ms. Vallow going into the residence here?
That is correct. That's Miss Vallow.
And this is Unit 175.
Correct.
And then 127 is her going further into it, albeit the glare here, we can't really see that.
Yes, ma'am.
So did you find the Jeep that you were looking for, that 2018 Jeep with the Texas plates when you were there on November 1st?
No, we did not. Not on November 1st.
Did you search the whole complex?
We did.
So did you go back again later to try to locate the Jeep?
Yes, we looked for the Jeep. November 1st was a Friday in 2019. We looked for the Jeep all weekend and were unable to locate it. I was finally able to locate it Monday morning, November 4th.
So did you went back to look again on Monday morning to 565 Pioneer Road and you saw the Jeep?
I was on my way home from the gym and looked over to my right and saw the Jeep parked outside of apartment 175.
What did you do when you saw it?
I had Erickson Tow Company seize the Jeep and tow it to our impound lot.
Is that an internal or external lot?
We have both external and internal, but we towed it and put it inside our impound lot. Inside.
Did you let the Gilbert Police Department know you had located and seized that Jeep?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Did you attempt to contact Lori Vallow to let her know you took the Jeep?
We did several times that day. We made attempts to go over and knock on the door to let Miss Vallow know that we had her Jeep in case they wondered if it was stolen or impounded. And we were unable at any time to make contact with Miss Vallow, and nobody had called the police department stating their Jeep was missing either.
So you never received a call from Lori Vallow to report her Jeep stolen?
No.
Never got a call from Alex Cox saying a Jeep was stolen?
No.
So you have the Jeep on the 4th of November. Do you coordinate with the Gilbert Police Department for them to come to Rexburg, Idaho to be able to process the Jeep?
We did.
Did you, in fact, author the search warrant for them to be able to take things like DNA swabs and GSR kits and things like that?
Yes.
Were you present when that search warrant was executed on November 18th of 2019?
Yes, I was.
Were you just watching and allowing them to do the processing?
That's correct.
When you were there on November 18th, as well as when you impounded the Jeep, did you note anything about the tinting on the rear windows of that Jeep?
I noticed that the tinting on the Jeep was extremely dark. It appeared darker than Idaho state law allows.
From the outside, trying to look inside, were you able to see into the vehicle?
Not unless I got right up to the window.
Okay. Did you learn during this investigation that that Jeep had been taken to Dan Moss's tinting on September 25th to have those windows tinted?
I did learn that later on in the investigation, yes.
Okay. But at that time, you did not know that.
That's correct.
On December 18th of 2019 was a second search warrant executed on that Jeep Wrangler.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you author that search warrant as well?
I did.
And were you again present for the execution of that search warrant?
Yes, I was.
Were photographs taken of the Jeep?
Yes, they were.
Were photographs taken of receipts inside the Jeep?
Yes.
When the Jeep was being processed on December 18th and photographs were taken of the receipts, did you note a receipt inside that was related to or that came from Arizona?
Yes, I did.
Did you notice a receipt from Arizona that was from October 1st of 2019?
Yes, I did.
Understanding that you were being asked by the Gilbert Police to investigate a shooting on October 2nd, did you feel that was relevant?
Yes, ma'am.
Shown the defendant exhibits 128 through 134, if I can have my paralegal approach. Do you recognize those as photos taken of the Jeep from the search warrant that was executed on December 18th of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
State will move to admit 128 through 134.
Any objection?
No objection.
128 through 134 admitted.
So 128, were these just some overall photos of this Jeep?
Yes, that's correct.
In 129, do we see a tag from Texas that also reflects the license plate number up here, the LWD 0997?
Yes.
Is this, again, the side to show that dark tinting on that?
Correct.
That's the license plate that was on the Jeep that you impounded?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that show the whole back of the Jeep?
Yes.
I know you were present both on November 18th and now on December 18th, a month later. When this Jeep was being processed with this tire on it, were you guys able to open that rear window while the tire was still on the Jeep?
No, we weren't able to.
And then is this the other side of the Jeep itself?
Correct.
In Exhibit 134, does this show sort of different receipts and stuff found in the Jeep itself?
Yes.
And does that include focus? A receipt from Los Favoritos at 5351 South Power Road in Mesa, Arizona?
Correct.
And does it show a date of October 1 of 2019?
Yes.
And although it's getting blurry here, is it the timestamp 1312 hours?
Yes, it is.
So this receipt, let me ask you this, from the time that you impounded the Jeep on November 4th, was it always in your custody until this executed search warrant on December 18th?
Yes, it was.
And so this Jeep that you impounded on November 4th had a receipt from October 1st of 2019 at 13:12 hours from a restaurant in Mesa, Arizona.
That's correct.
And you were aware at that time that Brandon Boudreaux had been shot at on October 2nd, 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
So this was from the day before.
Right.
When you were working with the Gilbert Police Department, you told us that you had done some surveillance from November 1st until you recovered the Jeep on November 4th. Later in November, did you have some additional time to do surveillance at the 565 Pioneer Road? Specifically November 26th.
Yes, we did.
On November 26th, did you have contact with a person by the name of Chad Daybell?
Yes, I did.
On November 26th of 2019, who did you understand that to be in relation to Lori Vallow?
Lori's current husband.
Was there anyone with Chad Daybell when you saw him on November 26th?
It was also Lori's brother, Alex Cox, that was with Chad Daybell at that time.
Can you describe for us the circumstance you saw these two on November 26th? Where were they? Were they around a vehicle, around a townhome?
So when we made contact with Chad, and Alex, they were unloading Alex's pickup truck, unloading items from the back of it into the garage of apartment 175. And that's when I initially made contact with both of them.
You said that they were getting out of a vehicle. What kind of vehicle was it?
It was a gold Ford pickup truck.
Was it a Ford F-150?
Yes.
Do you recall if it had Arizona plates on it?
It did have Arizona plates. I believe
Were they, I guess, personalized plates?
they were personalized.
Was that a CPQUINT?
Yes, CP Quint.
At this time, when you are at this apartment complex on November 26th, is it your understanding that Lori Vallow is living at those Rock Creek townhomes?
That's correct.
And was it your understanding at that time that Alex Cox was living in the Rock Creek townhomes as well on November 26th?
At that time, yes, we knew he was at the Rock Creek townhomes.
I've shown the defendant exhibit 135. I could have my paralegal approach.
Thank you.
Is that just sort of an aerial overview of the Rock Creek apartments that we're talking about
Yes, it is.
at 565 Pioneer Road?
Yes, ma'am.
And does that show where Unit 175 is?
It does.
State will move to admit 135.
Any objection?
Just foundation, Your Honor.
135 is admitted.
Okay. So we see here this is Pioneer Road. Is this the Rock Creek townhomes?
Yes, it is.
Using Exhibit 135, are you able to tell us approximately where Unit 175 is located?
Is there a pointer I can use, or?
Could he point to the
Behind you.
TV behind you?
Look behind.
If you could get up and,
Go ahead.
thank you. So if you could point to, yeah,
175, the back of 175 is roughly here, and the front door is this way. So the garage, where I first made contact with Alex and Chad both, were right back here.
Detective, maybe if you could go to this side. Sorry, just the other side so the jury doesn't have to look through you. Thank you.
The Jeep was located on November 4th, parked in a stall right here.
So that's where you located it on the 4th, and that's right near the 175 you were describing?
Correct, right in front of the 175 garage.
Now, you told us that you also knew that at that time Alex Cox was living at the Rock Creek Townhomes. Can you show us where that was, what unit that was, approximately?
107 is where Alex Cox was living, and it was roughly here, the front door to 107.
Okay. During this time on November 26th, did you learn that a Melanie Boudreaux was also living at the Rock Creek Townhomes?
Yes, I did.
What unit did she live in?
She lived in 174, which is right next door to Ms. Vallow's residence at 175.
Thank you. You can be seated now. Now, did you become, were documentation obtained along with an affidavit for the rental application for Lori Vallow to live at 565 Pioneer Road?
Yes, they were.
Did the documentation show her as renting unit 107?
Yes, it showed Lori Vallow as the renter of apartment 107.
Did you ever see her over at apartment 107?
No, I didn't.
So on November 1st, you saw her at 175?
That's correct.
Your Honor, the state will move to admit Exhibit 162, which is pursuant to 803 and 902 with the affidavit authenticating them from the custodian of records.
All right. Any objection?
No objection.
Can you give me the number again?
162.
162 submitted.
So 162, we see the application for Lori Vallow to rent 565 Pioneer Road, number 7. Is that correct?
Number 107, yes.
107. And that was submitted on August 14th?
Correct, the way I understand it.
Okay. And did that indicate a vehicle of a Jeep Wrangler with the LWD 0997?
Yes,
That's the Jeep that you impounded on the 4th?
that's correct.
And did it also indicate a Nissan Rogue blue, no license plate at that time?
Correct.
And is that the type of vehicle that you had seen Lori Vallow driving when you were doing surveillance on the 1st of November?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you told us that Alex Cox also lived in this townhome complex. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And do you know what unit he rented in his paperwork? Was it 175?
Yes, Alex was a renter in apartment 175.
Now, we're talking about November 26, where you're doing some surveillance. You have interactions with Chad Daybell and with Alex Cox outside of Unit 175.
Correct.
Did you go to Unit 105 to see if Lori Vallow was there?
We went to Unit 107
107, yeah, I'm sorry.
to see if Lori was there, and there was nobody there at that apartment.
Were you aware then that the rental paperwork for Alex Cox, along with an affidavit authenticating those records being kept in the normal course of business, was obtained from the Rooftop Real Estate Management Company for Alex Cox's rental of Unit 175?
Yes, we didn't obtain that on the 26th of November, but later throughout the investigation, yes, ma'am.
Correct. State will move to admit those pursuant to 803 and 902, Exhibit 160.
Any objection?
No objection.
160 is admitted.
And so, although this is a tough thing to read, do we see the 26th day of August of 2019, Alexander Cox?
Yes.
And does the letter from the Realty Management say that Alex Cox had rented 565 Pioneer at Unit 175?
That's correct.
Now, you told us that on the 26th of November, you had contact with Chad Daybell and Alex Cox near Unit 175. Did you go to Unit 175 to see if anyone was inside there?
We knocked on apartment 175. We also knocked on apartment 174, which is where Lori's niece lived, to see if maybe they were over there. And we were unable to make contact with anybody at all three apartments.
Okay. Now, the next day on November 27th, were search warrants executed on units 107, 174, and 175?
Yes, they were.
Was anyone home in any three of these residents when they were executed?
No, there was not.
I'm going to talk about Unit 107, the one that was in the rental paperwork rented to Lori Vallow. Can you describe for us what you saw when you went into that unit?
Apartment 107 was completely vacant. It looked like everybody had moved out. There wasn't anything in the entire apartment, so we assumed that nobody had lived there because it was vacant.
So no furniture,
No, ma'am.
no groceries?
Nothing. Like it was ready to be moved in for a new tenant.
Okay. When you went into Unit 175, where you had seen Miss Vallow going into previously after making the trip to the Walgreens on November 1st, what did it look like inside that unit?
So 175 was different. There was furniture, food in the pantry, food in the refrigerator, beds. It looked like somebody was living there. But as we went upstairs into the master bedroom and other bedrooms, the entire closet was completely empty, other than just empty hangers. So it looked like somebody had just grabbed everything hanging. There were no clothes, and just took off with what they had.
Were photographs taken inside Unit 565 of 565 Pioneer Road, Unit 175 during that search warrant?
Yes, photos and also a video.
Okay. Did each of these units have their own garage as well?
They did.
So I'm going to start with the interior of that residence. When you were inside Unit 175, did you see any documentation in there relating to renting a storage unit for Lori Vallow?
Yes, we did. We found a rental agreement in the master bedroom on what I believe to be was a copier, where it detailed the address of the storage unit, self-storage plus, and also the storage unit number, which was C52.
Your Honor, I've shown the defendant Exhibit 136 through 138, if my paralegal can approach.
Thank you.
And is that showing sort of the outside of the unit and then a photograph of that document that you located that you just told us about?
Yes, ma'am.
State will move to admit 136 through 138.
Any objection?
No objection.
136 through 138 are admitted.
Okay. So 137, do we see the front of units 175? Oops.
Yes, cut off.
May pull out.
There you go. Yes, 175. It's the one with the toys out front.
Where would 174 be in relation to this?
To the left of that apartment.
So
Yep,
this
right
one?
over there.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So this apartment was technically rented to Alex Cox, but inside it had some indicia of Lori Vallow.
That's correct.
I'm putting up 138. So when we see this, we see at the top you said C52. Is that a storage unit location?
That's the number of the storage unit at the storage location, correct?
Okay. And down here, do we see a date when this was executed?
Yes, October 1st, 2019.
And what name is on this?
Lori Ryan.
Did you learn in your investigation that Lori Vallow, before she became Lori Vallow, was Lori Ryan?
That's correct.
So she was Lori Ryan, then Lori Vallow, and now Lori Daybell?
Correct.
Does this show the location of the storage facility?
Yes, it does.
Self-Storage Plus at 433 Airport Road?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is that in relation to 565 Pioneer Road? Is it far away?
No, it's roughly probably a half a mile north. If you stay on Pioneer, you'll run right into Airport Road. It is on the north side of Main Street, so about a half a mile away.
Inside the residence, did you see any like women's clothing or anything else like that that appeared to be consistent with Lori Vallow? And I know you told us most of it was gone.
We found women's clothing in the garage in apartment 175.
So in the garage, can you describe for us what the garage was like? I mean, what did you see when you went into the garage? Were there cars in there?
No, so in the garage of 175, there were boxes. It appeared people had been moving things into the garage of 175. So there were plastic containers full of various items. There were boxes full of clothes. There were prepper barrels for water storage. Just various different things that it looked like people had moved in.
So in addition to having furniture and clothing and all sorts of stuff, did you find any paperwork in the garage that was related to Alex Cox?
We did.
Things like passports and bills.
Correct.
Did you find any weapons in the garage?
We found several weapons in the garage, yes.
Now, since you were working with the Gilbert Police Department, had you been advised that Brandon Boudreaux had seen a rifle barrel come out of the Jeep Wrangler and then fire at him?
Correct.
So were you looking for any rifles when you were going through that garage?
Yes, we were.
Did you photograph all of those?
We did.
I've shown defendant exhibits 139 through 159. If I can have my paralegal approach.
Go ahead.
Do you recognize all of those as photos of sort of the indicia of Alex Cox, as well as the various weapons that were located in the garage of Unit 175?
Yes, ma'am.
The state will move to admit 139 through 159.
Any objection?
Just cumulative, Your Honor. There's like 20-something of those. I don't know how many they actually need.
Can I look at them? All right, they're admitted.
So, and I think I called you detective earlier, I apologize, Lieutenant. To be clear, Unit 175 was rented by Alex Cox, correct?
Correct.
But on November 1st, you saw Lori Vallow going into that unit.
Correct.
You saw her Nissan Rogue in the garage,
Correct.
and you found her Jeep Wrangler parked near Unit 175.
That's correct.
And 107 that she rented was on the other side of the complex.
Correct.
Was she ever seen in any of the surveillance over at 107?
No.
So in the garage, I'm going to put up exhibit 139. Did you find indicia such as Alex Cox's passport?
Yes, we did.
And things like credit cards for him,
Correct.
tax paperwork for Alex Cox,
Yes.
mail for Alex Cox.
Yes.
As you were going through all of this paperwork in the garage, we can see a little bit here where there are just bins of belongings that appeared to be his in the garage.
Yeah, that's what we assumed. It was his. It was mixed in with his personal effects.
Okay. So you also found clothing in there that appeared to be male,
Yes.
and then furniture in there.
Correct.
You told us that you were looking for any types of weapons. So I have Exhibit 145. Did you see sort of a rifle and a case, and 146 showing that rifle?
Yes.
Do we see in 147 another case? And 148, and then 149 showing that rifle.
Correct.
What's this?
That's a scope.
Was there anything on any of these rifles that would indicate you could attach a silencer or anything onto the end?
Yes, there were a few rifles that had threaded barrels. In this photograph, you can see the difference. That is a threaded barrel that you could screw a silencer or suppressor on the end of a rifle.
Okay. And so we see sort of some close-up. This seemed to have its own, I guess, to give padding for the person using that.
Correct.
And then showing sort of the scope itself. Was
Yes.
there in that bag ammunition with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Were there boxes of ammunition?
Yes.
Was there all kinds of ammunition?
There was a lot of ammunition.
Were there extra rifle barrel parts?
Correct.
Were each of those laid out to be photographed, that of the rifles that were located?
Yes.
So we see in 156, is that one of the rifles that was located?
Yes.
157, was that one of the other rifles that was located?
Yes.
158, another rifle that was located?
Yes, ma'am.
And then 159, what do we see here and here? Are those extra parts?
Different uppers for rifles, correct.
Okay. So these could be changed out with the stock.
Yes.
We heard that you also executed a search warrant on 565 Pioneer Road, Unit 174. Was that the unit you told us was rented by Melanie Boudreaux?
Correct.
When you were executing this search warrant, were you aware that Melanie Boudreaux had been married to Brandon Boudreaux, the individual who was the victim in this case you're helping Gilbert with?
Yes.
So during this search warrant of Unit 175, you learned that Lori Vallow had rented that Unit C52 at the Self-Storage Plus business in Rexburg, Idaho.
Right.
And were video and an affidavit authenticating the surveillance video obtained later from the Self-Storage Plus?
Yes, it was.
Did you obtain video from the day that Lori Vallow rented the unit on October 1st?
We did.
Did you obtain video from the day of the shooting, October 2nd?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you obtain video from the day after that, October 3rd?
Yes.
Did you obtain video for longer than that, but for our portion, those 3 days?
Correct.
Your Honor, the state will move to admit Exhibit 164 pursuant to the affidavit and Rule 803 and 902.
Any objection to 164?
No, Your Honor.
164 is admitted.
And Your Honor, if we can publish it and have the detective explain to us some of this. I apologize, I called you detective again. Lieutenant, sorry.
Fine.
Before we start, In these videos, does the storage unit or storage company have numerous channels showing different aspects of the business?
Yes.
Does channel 1 sort of show the parking lot and entrance and exit to the storage units themselves?
Correct.
And does channel 3 show a driveway outside one of the rows of storage units?
Correct.
And channel 4 shows a different drive outside of this row of storage units?
Correct.
Do we have a channel 5 that shows sort of where the vehicles would park to go into where C52 is?
Yes.
And does channel 11 show actually the hallway of where unit C52 is located?
Correct.
Okay. You previously told us that you had done that surveillance on November 11th of 2019, and you saw at unit 175, Lori Vallow getting out of a blue Nissan Rogue with the Arizona license plate CRT 2994, correct?
No, we previously did that November 1st,
November 1st.
2019.
And that's when you followed her and saw her both driving that vehicle as well as parking it at unit 175.
Yes, ma'am.
When you were watching these videos, did you see that same blue Nissan Rogue with the Arizona license plate CRT 2994 coming and going to the storage unit C52?
We did, yes.
Showing defendant 166 and 167. I can approach. Do you recognize these as stills from the surveillance video from that storage unit business showing the Nissan Rogue that you previously have described as seeing Lori Vallow driving on November 1st of 2019?
Yes, I do.
The state will move to admit Exhibit 166 and 167.
Any objection?
No objection.
They're admitted.
.166, and this is a closer up of 167. And that's the Nissan Rogue that you saw Lori Vallow in on November 1st driving.
That's correct.
And this is the Nissan Rogue that you see in these videos from the storage unit.
Yes.
You told us that you also obtained video from future dates after October 3rd at the storage unit.
Correct.
Did you ever see the Ford F-150 with that personalized license plate at the storage facility?
Yes.
Show defendant Exhibit 165. I can have my paralegal approach. Do you recognize that as a still photo of the vehicle that you saw Alex Cox and Chad Daybell getting out of on November 26th at the Pioneer Road Complex Apartments?
Yes, I do.
State will move to admit 165.
No objection.
165 is admitted.
So does this show us that on October 6th, the truck with the CPQUINT is seen at that storage unit?
That's correct.
We can now play the videos. Starting on October 1st, And is October 1st is the day that the document shows she rented the storage unit, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So this is the earliest of the videos you were able to obtain.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we're going to go through just some of the relevant ones, ending in the 40809. Do you recognize, is this the storage unit we're talking about?
Yes, it is.
Off to the far right, we see sort of a little wall there with an opening. Is that the entrance back to where the rows of storage units are located?
Yes, that's correct.
And is that the vehicle that you have recognized Lori Vallow to have been driving at least on November 1st?
Yes.
We can go to the 40935 video. Do we see in this video, in about a minute, the Nissan come out and a person get out of that vehicle and go into the facility?
Yes.
And where we see the quad pulling up is the entrance into the business, the office located there.
Yes, it is.
And I apologize, we can't go forward. It blacks it out if we try to speed it up. So is this the Nissan Rogue we've been talking about?
Yes.
We see an individual getting out of the car and going to the office. Do you recognize who that is?
Yes, I do.
Who do you recognize that to be?
Lori Vallow.
How do you know that's her? Have you seen her over the last 5 years multiple times?
I've seen her, had interactions with her, so I know that to be Lori Vallow.
Okay. So you recognize the vehicle as well as her?
Yes, ma'am.
I think we can go to the 42009 video. And just so we're clear, a lot of these videos may just show the car parked there, but as long as the car was there, you guys obtained it.
Correct.
Do you recognize someone coming out now with a paper in their hand?
Yes.
And who do you recognize that as?
Also Lori Vallow.
Was this the only entrance and exit to the storage units, what we see here?
I believe that is, yeah, the only exit and entrance.
So whenever someone comes in or out, we see it on this video.
That's correct.
So then the last video, just to show the car leaving, is that the 43224, if we could show that. So we see her leaving at 2:32 in the afternoon.
Correct.
Okay. And we talked about other channels. Can we look at channel 3, driveway A, 42331? Channel 3, 42331. Thank you. Can you describe for us here the building and the vehicle there? That's sort of right where we see the 10-1 of 2019. Is that the unit where C52 is located?
Yes, it is.
Is that the Nissan Rogue?
Yes, it is.
This is one angle that we see. We talked about there's also an angle from inside the building, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if we can go to, just to show the leaving, 43133 from that same channel 3. So this shows Ms. Vallow leaving in her Nissan Rogue.
That's correct.
We can go to channel 11 to show the inside of the storage unit, 42305. So this is still October 1st, the day she's rented this, correct?
Yes.
Where is unit 52 or C52?
It's at the end of the hallway on the left-hand side from this camera angle.
Is that the unit that we see this person at?
Yes, ma'am.
And although it's far away, do you recognize who that is?
Absolutely.
Who is that?
Lori Vallow.
And when you follow the timestamps of all of these videos together of the vehicle going in, renting the unit, going through, do they all sort of coincide to show her coming from renting the unit to then coming into C52?
They do.
In this video, do we see anyone with Lori Vallow as she's putting bins or whatever into this unit?
No.
So she's by herself on the first.
Correct.
Okay. And then if we can just show channel 5, the 42129. And if we can stop at around 142140. Does this show that Nissan Rogue leaving? Oops.
Yes, it does.
And did that show the plate, if we back it up a little, which we don't need to do, CRT 2994?
Yes, it does.
Okay. I want to go to October 2nd now. Did you obtain footage that showed Lori Vallow driving that Nissan Rogue back to the storage unit again on October 2nd?
Yes, we did.
And so October 2nd is the day of the shooting?
That's correct.
Starting at channel 1, do we see that Nissan arrive in the 32459 video around 1:25 in the afternoon? Is this the Nissan Rogue that belongs to Lori Vallow arriving to the storage facility on October 2nd of 2019?
Yes, it is.
We can show channel 3, video 32624. That the Nissan Rogue pulling up to the row that contains unit C52?
Yes.
On October 2nd of 2019, how many people were helping put stuff into the storage unit?
2 people, male and a female.
Did you recognize who those 2 people were?
Yes, I did.
Who did you recognize them to be?
Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell.
We show video 32742. See those 2 people getting out of the vehicle
Yes.
and going into the building.
Yes.
On this day, did you see these 2 individuals putting any items into unit C52?
Yes.
If we can go to 32830. Were you able to determine what that item was?
Appeared to be a tire.
We'll keep watching this. Do they take another item into the storage unit as well before we move into the interior view? Now, from this angle, were you able to really tell what it was that they brought in for that second item?
Not really from this angle.
Let's go then to the inside camera view, channel 11, video 32901. So is that the tire that we previously saw come out of the back of that Nissan Rogue?
Yes, that's the tire that Mr. Daybell is rolling down into the storage unit.
So we see them both carrying in something, one at each end.
Yes.
And those were the only two items they put in?
That's correct.
We can go back to channel 3 to 33116. Is that them leaving?
Yes, ma'am.
And then one of the driveways in there in channel 4, video 32605, are we able to see the license plate like previously as it drove by that camera?
Yes.
So if we stop it earlier, is that the same Nissan Rogue with the same license plate we've been discussing?
That's correct.